Ever and day, forever and day, the mercies of the Lord endure forever and day.
Oh, thank the Lord of love.
Ever and day,
Give thanks to God, all gods above.
ever and day,
Oh, thank the mighty King of kings,
ever and day,
whose arm has done such wondrous things.
ever and day, ever and day, forever and day, the mercies of the Lord endure forever and day.
Whose wisdom gave the heavens birth,
Ever and day,
and spread the waters on the earth.
ever and day,
Who taught young glorious lights their way,
ever and day,
the radiant sun to rule the day.
ever and day, ever and day, forever and day, the mercies of the Lord endure forever and day.
The moon and stars to rule the night,
Ever and day,
with glowing of a milder light.
ever and day,
Who struck Egyptians' stubborn pride,
ever and day,
when by his wrath their firstborn died.
ever and day, ever and day, forever and day, the mercies of the Lord endure forever and day.
But he led Israel from their land,
Ever and day,
with outstretched arm and conquering hand.
ever and day,
His hand the Red Sea water split,
ever and day,
made Israel walk the midst of it.
ever and day, ever and day, forever and day, the mercies of the Lord endure forever and day.
He drowned old Pharaoh and his band,
Ever and day,
but led his flock through desert land.
ever and day,
He struck great monarchs in their might,
ever and day,
and famous kings he slew in fight.
ever and day, ever and day, forever and day, the mercies of the Lord endure forever and day.
King Sihon of the Amorites,
Ever and day,
and Og the king of Bashanites,
ever and day,
God gave their land to Israel,
ever and day,
and made the Jews inherit all.
ever and day, ever and day, forever and day, the mercies of the Lord endure forever and day.
He noticed us amidst our woes,
Ever and day,
and rescued us from all our foes.
ever and day,
He daily feeds each living thing.
ever and day,
Give thanks to heaven's almighty King.
ever and day, ever and day, forever and day, the mercies of the Lord endure forever and day.